Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility and Comic Book Geezers. We've got a special program today that's going to be featured on both of our channels. We're going to do a Season 9 wrap-up of The Walking Dead, Season 9, with my co-host Dan Brown from The Warehouse in Newburgh, New York. What's happening, Dan?
Ooh, a lot of things.
A lot of things.
A lot of things. Yes.
So,
yes.
For those of you fans, all right, obviously The Walking Dead Season 9 just ended.
We haven't bathed in 4 days.
No, we just...
We've been sitting here. Anyhow, go ahead.
So a lot happened in Season 9, right? And we did a kind of like a Walking Dead special show, which led up to Season 9 a couple months back.
That was hyperkinetic, that one.
Yeah.
I'm a lot calmer on this one because we had to try to fit in like 8 seasons.
Right. Here we're just talking about one.
So yeah, originally it was beginning 45 minutes, then it was 90, then there was the director's cut, and it's, and even 90, it's like everything is rapid fire. You got to play it back in slow motion, which it becomes 4 hours then.
Yeah, there you go.
But anyhow,
that might be worth doing, right?
I'm gonna visit a few theories about why things are the way they are on The Walking Dead and where they may be going. But overall, for starters,
good job. So here we're in the middle of the Whisperer's arc. If you're reading the comic book, obviously the one wrinkle here is that obviously Rick Grimes no longer on the show, so they had to write him off. Or for the rest of the cast, he was killed, obviously. But
and Carl, they kind of
Carl too, yeah.
They replaced him with Henry, and he truly was. I hate to say it, he is one. By the way, Henry is played by one of the Lintz family, who played young Henry and also played Sophia. They are brothers and sisters.
Interesting.
But sadly enough, the character of Henry was that donut you put on your car.
That's right,
I believe. Because Carl was a very pivotal part of the storyline.
And nobody cared about Henry.
No, nobody cared about Henry.
By the way, spoiler alerts. If you haven't watched Season 9 or you're not up to date, stop watching because we're going to lay it all out here.
And we may throw some stuff there in the comic.
Yes.
And where this show might be going. And, so spoiler alerts, the Whisperer War, they have taken the main parts of that story, and they have
pretty close.
Projected them pretty closely. They haven't made any major deviances from the story in the comic book, other than
I would say the casting pretty damn good too. For
the casting is good, yeah.
That woman who played that actress who plays Alpha she's mean.
Yeah, and she cleaned up rather well when she went into the town.
I thought the same thing. I was like, wait, no, that's not the same woman.
At first I didn't recognize her, and then she had a nice little sun hat and
the long blonde hair.
Somebody's scalp on her head. And then she was all cleaned up. She had a nice little sundress. And, she looked actually kind of hot. And, in a 40-something-year-old woman
way.
And then
you see her without the hair.
Yeah,
and
then next thing you know, she's back at the camp. She looks like the love child of Curly Howard and Joan Crawford, or Curly on crack. I don't understand. She just couldn't wait to get that mascara on her eyes.
Telling you.
But she's casting as well. And Beta.
And Beta, you know who Beta is, right?
Ryan
Beta,
Hurst.
Right, from the Sons of Anarchy show.
He was also in Bates Motel.
Was he
yes,
really?
He played a role in Bates Motel,
okay,
playing some kind of crazy that lived near the Bates Motel. Okay. Not that there's not enough crazies at the Bates Motel. And then he also was in a show for 2 seasons on, I was going to say USA, and I'm not sure. It was called The Outsiders, and it was about like mountain folk in Virginia. And He's plays the son.
For that, right?
Yeah. He plays the son. And, I guess he takes roles where he doesn't have to cut his hair. That's how it works. But he is awesome. He's far more intriguing.
Is he ever going to take off the skin in here in The Walking Dead? Because he has not been yet, right?
Well, there have been rumors. And something that I'm just going to reiterate about the past seasons, which I liked about this season that they've always lacked in previous seasons, is they brought out a backstory on Alpha. So we know she's a sadistic psycho. Yeah. Basically making her daughter believe that her father was the abusive one, when in fact she's the crazy. There is rumors that they want to do a Beta backstory. Now, that is kind of different from the comic because I believe you never see Beta without the mask. He's always masked.
I think so.
Yeah. And if they decide to do a backstory, and maybe he was a biker in a bag,
Yeah.
Maybe he was in the Sons of Anarchy. Wouldn't that be funny?
That would be cool. Yeah.
You know, no.
But you bring up a good point, because a lot of the villains or the real
Mm-hmm.
bad guy or bad characters that they've had in the past on the Walking Dead show, they give you that backstory. They really weren't bad people before.
Right. I mean, they touched
the apocalypse.
Yeah, they touched upon it with the governor,
Right.
but more in like his conversation.
Yeah.
But they never, but they gave some, but they lacked. I mean, I know we were with Rick and Shane, and we kind of knew their backstory in the earlier days. But they kind of dropped the ball. I mean, knew Herschel was on the farm, but they've dropped the ball in the past. Where I think in some of these, like I like to look at when I used to watch the X-Files. You had these conspiracy thing, which got boring. But what I remember most about the X-Files were the standalone episodes, the Monster of the Week. And I think they touched upon these backstories. They gave a great little synopsis of Abraham. Yeah. So you get a little bit of the camera. It was more flashback. And then you had Morgan's journey where he went from, bat crap crazy to being Zen with Eastman. And I think they dropped the ball with that. I'm kind of glad they're giving some backstories. I wish they would do a Negan backstory, because the only story about Negan in the backstory was a standalone comic they did called Here's Negan on the comic, and you find it about him. But I'm sorry, I think the backstory is very important.
I totally agree with you. So we are both of the opinion that this season actually moved pretty well. And I think for the most part, the writing's been pretty good. Again, they've really, for the most part, and then obviously there's changes in characters and things like that, because they've killed off some characters and what have you. Some have left the show. So they've had to kind of scramble and make it all work. But I think the general nuts and bolts of the story arc of the Whisperers, it's following pretty closely.
Following it very closely. Yeah. Even the heads on the spikes. Which the only big difference, two of the people, Enid and Tara, who are regulars on the show, they are not in the comic, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
And then neither is Henry, for that matter.
Correct.
And actually, the person whose head was supposed to be on the pike was Ezekiel. And they were kind of pushing in that direction at one point when he was going to go get Alpha like a coat because she looked chilled.
Right.
And because you knew Henry. As soon as Henry went off, I went, "Are they going to kill this kid?" And then when she was talking to Ezekiel was going to go get a coat for Alpha. So when they start unveiling the heads on the pikes, which, mind you, all of the characters who are on pikes do not exist in the comic, I believe.
I think so. Two of the brawny guys.
Oh, they were in the comic. I don't remember
but
that.
Everybody else is not.
They were a lost opportunity. I kind of like them.
Yeah. They kind of came and went so quickly, right? It's like you really didn't even get to know them much.
And Henry was out. Boom. Ezekiel's still in.
So interestingly enough, in the comic, obviously, as Dan mentioned, Ezekiel is long gone in the comic.
Also involved with Michonne.
Right, involved exactly. Carol's long dead in the comic,
mm-hmm.
which is crazy. And Ezekiel and Michonne were in a relationship, and then he gets killed, and she's absolutely distraught. So a lot of kind of things that, like, with the main characters are a little bit different. So you have to wonder, if you watch the finale, it looks like Carol wants to kind of break off from Ezekiel, because obviously they lost their adoptive son now, right, in Henry, and she's distraught about it, and she, they're not getting along because of it. And so you have to wonder now what the future holds for him.
Yeah, he might be, and I think it was kind of...
Is that a way to kind of get them apart, to let's kill him off at some point, maybe in season 10?
Yeah, and I think...
And then have her and Daryl?
No, I don't think so. I think...
or Daryl with the deaf woman?
Which seems to be the thing they're trying to push at. No, I think the thing is with Ezekiel is that the thing that's always been bothering me about his character is that he's he had reality smack him in the face during the Savior War, in which he lost many of his people, and he's still talking like he's on Game of Thrones. It's like, lighten up. Let's get back to reality, buddy.
I like him better when he's got the tiger, though. I love that tiger.
Yes,
I miss the tiger.
As out there as that was, it was a great addition to the show. It's funny when you're talking about like the ratings for this last episode. Were like 4.5 men. It was the lowest. Well, not the finale. I didn't get the ratings on that, but the Pike one, where the heads were on the thing. That was the lowest rated show in the history of The Walking Dead. And Yeah, it was like 4.5 million.
Watching it live, but how many people watched
Well,
it?
that is
next
so.
day
Yeah,
after
that's
they heard how great it was.
That's
right?
so skewed because I don't watch it live anymore. I DVR'd. I can't stand the commercials.
Yeah.
Some people
the
watch
AMC
it
is
on their
the
phone.
worst.
The worst. And now they also tease you nowadays in the show. And they goes, "The Walking Dead will be back in 1 minute." Why? What? I know. Hopefully, it will be back. Yes, thank you. Thanks for reminding. Is that what I'm watching? I thought I was watching the coming attractions for Badlands. It's but they have a tendency to do that. So yeah, that the whole Nielsen rating, if they're still using it, is kind of antiquated.
Yeah.
And they probably had a lot more viewership than they are. But we talk about they talk about the show declining in ratings. And I was talking to Peter about this earlier. You have to realize that The Walking Dead, first, you've been on for 9 years. Okay. Number two, you have fans in the Walking Dead universe, and it can be with any particular show. It could be with Angel or Buffy the Vampire Slayer, whatever. But you've got people like Peter and I. Maybe I'm speaking for him, but I watch the show because I enjoy it, like some compelling stories. I like the walkers. I like, whatever, and I kind of invested in the character. But bottom line, I enjoy the show. It's escapist fare. Okay, I don't leave the show feeling like a better human being. I'm not going to go out and, start pushing on solar energy. Well, actually, they use it at Alexandria, so I might consider it. But no, I don't do that. But I'm entertained, and I think Peter could say the same thing. He's entertained. He likes the show. But on the other end of the spectrum, you have the people that bite Norman Reedus at conventions, that have forced Josh McDermott, who plays Eugene, to cancel his Instagram account because he gets death threats. And there's also a rumor that apparently on set, I don't know how true this is, when they were filming the sequence where Carl gets attacked and bitten, somebody attacked one of the actors as a walker. So you have that other end there. And then in between, you have people that watch the show for various reasons. They like the walkers and this. So I think what happened along with the ratings, just other than the natural order of things, I think the first jump down was with the death of Glenn.
Yeah.
And Glenn was a character who's in since day one. So there's a lot of people, a lot of people that, that's my character. I like Glenn. Or I relate to whatever it may, and it's all in good fun. Well, Glenn's off the show, well, I'm not going to watch anymore. Same thing happened, and of course they had a double blow, him and Abraham. Boom.
Yeah.
Then, of course, the unexpected departure. There was always rumors that Andrew Lincoln was leaving in season 10. He planned on it, or that was rumored. But then when they got rid of Chandler Riggs, I think he kind of stepped it up a hair. That had something to do with it. But Chandler Riggs gone.
And still to this day, I do not agree with the Chandler Riggs decision, and I don't understand why they did that.
Well, it's funny. I don't invest in too many things. I usually read Forbes review the next day, or Den of Geek, which is interesting. Two complete spectrums on the end, and sometimes Forbes will like it, Den of Geek hates it, vice versa. So it says. But I also like to watch. I subscribe to a couple of people that have shows on YouTube that talk about theories and practice and that. Well, the whole Chandler Riggs story about it is that he was unexpectedly let go. Not only did a remark was made by his father saying, "I never trusted Scott Gimple." He had also put apparently some kind of a big tweet out there, and it was taken down, once again attacking the network. Well, what I understand about this, and Chandler Riggs has come out probably for some reason and not criticizing. He first off said, I felt I was rather lazy in the last 2 seasons I was there, really not doing my job. But he also said that apparently when he sat down with his father and they signed a 3-year contract, or a 3-year contract or 2-year contract. So they went, Chandler Riggs was going to go to college, which he was, but he was also he was going to school and he was going to do his role on the show. Now, after 1 year, he goes and buys a home pretty much equidistant from the college and from the set.
Doesn't get much better than that or easier than that, right?
1 year after that contract, they call him in, they tell him he's off the show. So I don't know what the decision was behind us. That's what started a lot of the animosity with it. But anyhow, getting back to why people drop, because their favorite character's gone.
Yeah.
I think another thing that really hurt it was, I was discussing with Peter earlier, was seasons 7 and 8, which was the savior, was all-out war, correct? And the thing about it is they stretched that for 2 full seasons.
Way too much.
and not counting a couple early intro, but it was 32 episodes. Now, when people look back at the series and they say, what are the best seasons ever written? A lot of people center in on seasons 4 and 5. Now, the funny thing about that is that season 3, which was The Governor, which was not considered one of the better seasons, they concluded his story in the first half of season 4. So in reality, the whole Governor arc runs a season and a half. At the mid-season point, they also then start introducing something else, which was them being scattered at that point, trying to get to Terminus. Yep. A lot of character development, a lot of things went on there. They put them in their raw element. With the Saviors, had they cut it back, they cut some of the useless fat out in it, and they did it for a season and a half, and then started the Whisperer arc mid-season, so it gets the fans' attention on something new and exciting around the bend, and then you have to wait till the next season to conclude it. If they stay within a season and a half, they're fine. I hope they do that with the Whisperers. I hope they don't push it for 2 years.
Yeah.
And that's another reason I think people at the end of...
Because it's not that long in the comic.
No, it's
not long at all.
No. At the end of season, between 7 and 8, I was so burned out. I think a lot of people were burned out just watching the same thing, running around shooting each other, and it's because of Jeffrey Dean Morgan, it's because of this, it's because of that.
Tired of Negan smirking constantly.
Yeah, and actually,
nothing's happening here. He's
actually low key. In the comic, he is cartoonish, pretty much. He's over the top, and I think Jeffrey Dean Morgan does a fine job with it. And I think especially this season right now, season 9, which also has brought back a certain element to the show, has been lost. And that is fear.
Yeah.
Starting with the death of Jesus.
Which I didn't see coming. Yeah.
No. And the funny thing about I stumbled upon a spoiler the day of that thing, and somebody had released the whole story. So I was, but the funny thing about it, that episode is so great because up until this point, they got really, walkers were really not a threat. I mean, they just run up to him with a screwdriver and stick him in the head. They're they're dispatching them like candy wrappers. So all of a sudden, they're in this episode, the mid-season. That was the mid-season finale.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Mid-season finale, where first off, they're all out there. Even Daryl has a look on his face like, "What?"
Crap, yeah.
Yeah, when he launches, I think, some Roman candles, and they don't react. Then they all the elements are there. They are in a low level fog in a cemetery.
Yeah, that was pretty creepy.
It's an old cemetery with wrought iron gates, and here it is. Jesus is finally jumping up and doing his thing, and he at that point basically he's in charge of this whole thing. Them getting out, and he gets killed. And the guy said, "Well, they say something. You don't belong here," or something like that. That was scary as hell. And then they are scared with the Whisperers. The Whisperers instill fear in them, and that's something that has not been on the docket for a very long time in the story.
Well, it's because you got these people who are wearing the skins,
mm-hmm.
and they were even doing it in last night's episode, like when they were down by the river.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they had to look at each one of them and say, "Are they?"
Oh yeah,
are they or aren't they? Right?
No, you can't.
You don't know, right?
Yes, you can't.
And the Whisperers have been kind of, in their own way, herding these Whisperers around, and they're infiltrating their ranks and acting like one of them because they're wearing the skins. So it's kind of like you have the regular people just
mm-hmm.
have no idea. They're like, wow, it's like it's this element of, like you said, fear and the unknown that they've never really had before.
Because they've learned, the thing is they're dealing, you deal with the governor, he was a person. You're dealing with Joe and the Reclaimers, they were people.
Negan,
Negan was a guy. And all of a sudden the Whisperers, they're just out there. And they're like roaming nomads. As a matter of fact, at the end of the episode where they had the snowstorm and the blizzard, which we've never visited at one point, I think the reason why they did it is they didn't want to spend the money to actually rent.
I guess. And that's what most people are talking about this morning. They're like, oh, you mean tell me it never snowed in all these years?
Well, that's the thing about it. People complain, not to change. not to change the subject, but I saw some grumblings from people, and these are like sometimes like I'm on some Facebook pages or something, and somebody was like complaining that they're giving Daryl all of Rick's lines, and it's like, well, Rick Grimes is not there.
He's got it.
And
someone's got to have
two. Wait,
here.
isn't this the guy that the phrase came up? If Daryl dies, we riot.
Right.
Now all of a sudden you're criticizing him. So everybody, you're never going to make anybody.
You can never make everybody happy. You can't.
But getting back to the ratings, I think because of knocking a lot of people, and that's why I thought they were very, very careful, because there were even speculation. Who's going to be the main death tonight? Whatever it is. And honestly, because of, I think, the percentage of fans they've lost, because of getting rid of some characters that they had, people had invested in, or they invested some background on them, they can't afford to lose anybody else at this point.
Well, here's the thing. We lost a lot of main characters this season. Mm-hmm. A lot of them. Whether they killed them off on the show or wrote them, whatever. Mm-hmm. They really haven't built up. Jesus was one of them. They were building him up to be a main guy. Now he's gone. They really haven't built up
and that's
any
the reason why he left. Because he felt he was going to set sitting around.
Yeah.
And he says, I was getting tired. I want to do something else. And, and he said,
it's a big ensemble show,
And if I go, I want to go out with a bang. But that was a big thing about season 4 and 5. They were actually, now there was a lot of separate stories as they're trying to get to Terminus and then beyond. When they're together, but they were balancing an ensemble cast of about 12 people fairly well.
Yeah.
And that's when some of the best writing came through, which brings us back to who's running the show. Angela Kang has been with the show since the second season. She actually was hired on, and last night on The Talking Dead, because they were in it, I'd never seen her interviewed, so I just wanted to see her interviewed. She was there actually at the end of the Frank Darabont era. And she's been with the show since then, since season 2, and she has written. Yeah, she's written or co-written at least 24 scripts prior to being the showrunner. So she's pretty well invested in the universe, and I think she's in very capable hands. I put this season up to one of the better ones. It far surpasses 7 and 8, of course. I guess all of them have their little charm. I definitely surpassed the season 3 in my mind. And season 1 is what season 1 is. It's not a great season. It's a great foundation.
But it hooked us all in, right? So
yeah. And but they have had a lot. They've had a lot of missed opportunities. One thing that I felt, they weren't developing characters for a long time,
right?
Which I call the Tobin syndrome. And the Tobin syndrome is he was a guy that came on at Alexandria. He was in like 20-something episodes. He's the one that betted Carol. And when he got bit during one of the crazy times of season 7 or 8, I think, right, I kept saying to myself, I know that guy. But I didn't remember his name.
Right.
Because he didn't have any investment.
He would pop up in a couple minutes each episode.
Which I have to bring this up real quickly. It's a real beef I have with them right now. With AMC. Not MTV. Then again, MTV may be involved. All right. I found to show the madness that was going on in season 7 and 8, which annoyed the hell out of me, is that you have this moment where Rick is there, and who's with the Saviors but Morales, who was there from season 1. Now, I went back and watched season 1. Was he one of the core characters? No, but he was right below them. He was in a lot of scenes. He was in all this, and he left and went south. So all of a sudden, he meets Rick, Morales, Rick. Now, this guy went south with his wife and kids to meet family. Somehow he's ended up back up in Virginia with the Saviors. Where's his family?
Gone.
It's a story that had to be told.
Never been told.
Never been told, and it never was, because within 2 minutes, Daryl shoots him in the back of the head with a crossbow.
That's it.
And what does he say? Oh, I never liked him in the first place. Really? Meanwhile, because, but I thought it would have been so great. I had this stupid idea. I sat there, what if there had been an explosion there and both Morales and Rick ends up in the basement? Right? Like Negan and him in that basement during 7 and 8. But it becomes
there you hear the whole story.
There's two-man play. Why did you end up where you are here? Why did you end up there? Tell me what happened. Because they both went on separate paths.
Mm-hmm.
and they're both as crazy as each other, and they're both in a war against each other. They get a great two-man play. Maybe there's walkers on a broken door trying to break in. Daryl's trying to dig them out. And then all of a sudden what happens when the door starts to break, there's only time for one person to get out. So Morales pushes Rick out. And, what do you call it? Daryl says something about Morales. And he goes, well, I never liked him in the first place. And Rick will say something like, we didn't know him.
Yeah.
But the thing about, or he could have been a plant in the Saviors. Which would have been very interesting. But he came, he went.
Dropped the ball.
And they've had moments like that. Yeah, and that's called no character. And these are great segues off to the side. It's a one-man show. It's like taking a break on the highway from the show, especially during the chaos of 7 and 8. But they missed that. But anyhow, overall, Channel 9. God, I'm back in
Season 9.
Let me adjust the rabbit ears. Season 9, thumbs up. I know Peter was at the exit door walking out.
I was. They kind of pulled me back in, so and I'm okay with that.
I was right behind him. And
so last night was the season finale. So let's give our take on where we see it going from here. So the one question I do have from last night, and maybe they'll touch on it in season 10. So obviously at the beginning of last night's episode is obviously a few months after the events in
at least 6 months.
Last week's.
Yeah, at least
right,
6
at least, right? Because
Rosita
is out to here,
showing
pregnant,
with her 3 baby daddies,
and the kingdom is in shambles, which wasn't last week.
Broken boiler.
So the roof is exploding, and they have
maybe it blew up.
It had to have, because it looked like the building was on fire.
Yeah, well, even the building must have blown up,
and half the people are gone. Where are they?
And even the building that they showed a scene with Ezekiel laying in his bedroom, and the foundation or wall was cracked.
Yeah,
so must have really did some damage. That's why they had to leave.
So are they ever going to kind of touch on what happened in that time period? They may not. Who knows? Maybe they'll dedicate one episode to kind of what happened in those couple of months. I don't know. But anyway.
They might do a flashback. I mean, they did a flashback with those X's on their backs.
Right.
Which, once again, okay, now I know how they got it on their back. But one thing that was never explained, maybe I missed this. Maybe I nodded out. I had no idea. But, okay, first of all, if you've got Michonne's clone, the woman, she was actually from True Blood, that actress.
Right, yes.
But she has the dreadlocks, and they recognize each other. But I think you never find out who she is.
No. And boom, done.
Yeah, and who is it? I mean, why are you all buddy? And so that's another missed opportunity. It's who was this person? I mean, and so that was, but overall, look, it can't be, it's
good job, I thought, yeah.
Good job. I view this season as, if you up in the top 3 as far as storyline writing.
I agree.
They overcame the time jump, which made sense out of necessity. The whole thing of instilling fear and so forth and so on. So I think they're on the right track. And if you were watching the show and you've dragged away from it, give it a shot. Try to watch it when it's on streaming or on if you buy DVDs. But because you really don't want it, the best way to enjoy this show is to watch it without the commercials.
Yeah.
And to really get in the character. But I think you'll find yourself, they're not going to find new fans.
Binge it.
They're not going to find new fan bases, I don't think. But I think they're going to be sitting pretty firm at about 4 to 5 million. Yeah. Unless some people come back. And 4 to 5 million viewers, there's a lot of shows that would die for that.
Oh, yeah, that don't even get half of that.
I believe Breaking Bad only had 2 million.
Yeah, Breaking Bad was a phenomenon with the critics and the fans, but it wasn't a mass watched show. Not like this, anyway. So, but yeah, it'll be so. I guess I'm assuming it's going to come back in the fall. So basically, where we're going to be at then, it's all of the residents of the different units now have to work together to battle the Whisperers. And now she's plotting the head of the Alpha.
Oh,
she's plotting something now.
She's getting hit with the flagellante stick there.
Yeah,
and
because they had this great scene in last night's episode where they're going from the kingdom to Alexandria. They're going to the hill. They head to the hilltop, and to do that, they have to cross into Whisperer territory, which they made that pact not to do.
but the Whisperers
were not there. But they have another thing. Where are the Whisperers? They're not living out in
Florida.
You're right. Where are they? Because how are they going to live through that?
They're snowbirds. Right. They took off.
I guess so. But anyway, a great scene where they have to cross the river, which is the same river where they tried to build the bridge over, and the the water is frozen, right? So they go to cross it, but then there's all these walkers living in the snowbanks that then come out. It's a great scene, best scene in the whole.
And
thing.
I kept thinking, oh my God, the ice is going to break.
Yeah. They didn't go there.
Jerry's going to get out there with his wife, and it's going to start hearing it crack. And it's like, no, but that didn't happen. But there was enough suspense going on.
Well yeah, very well done.
Yeah, and I think I'm hoping it follows. Okay, spoiler alert. Okay, Negan. Of course, last night he kind of redeemed himself to some extent, and he did not redeem himself, I believe, in the comic this way at first with
not
Judith.
Not this way, no.
But he does. I'll be honest with you. Rick is all in the comic. Rick is all.
There's no Judith in the comic, so
no Judith. There's Carl, but everybody's all flustered. Rick's all flustered. How do we deal with these people? And Negan tricks some young kid to let him out of his cell, brings him along, and then kills him, and then just strolls into the Whisperer's camp, whistling show tunes, and he comes here, and the next thing you see, if I'm not mistaken, he's back in Alexandria with Alpha's head, and he just kills her, and that's how he but he never fully redeems himself, and I think with the loss of major characters.
They can't. In the comic, Negan goes off into the sunset. But they can't do that in the show. They have to keep him around. In fact, my prediction for next season is that Negan is going to become one of the leaders and the main characters, and he's going to fully go through his redemption and become a good guy, actually a good human being. They almost don't have a choice.
No, they don't.
They
can't afford it. First off, you got Michonne leaving. I think there's a couple of the new characters that have come in. The girl with the crossbow or the bow and arrow, and her lover, I can't remember her name is, and you got the deaf girl, and you got the guy that's always in those magical Harry Potter movies now, the short guy. And he was in a movie called Fanboys, too, if you remember.
Oh, was he? It
was a horrible film. But they got enough characters to choose from. I didn't think they were going to kill that guy DJ, or DT, the kind of the handsome-looking guy. He got written off, so they have a lot of characters to develop, and hopefully they do the right thing or bring Aaron. They started developing Aaron at the beginning, and all of a sudden it's like they
forgot about it.
The last he's got the cyborg hand. He's working out with Jesus. He has the Rick beard. It's like, oh my God, are they conditioning him to be Rick? Because he looked exactly like the comic.
I know. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he vanished.
Yeah, he nothing to do. Yeah.
And he was just shown up again.
Last night he was there briefly, right?
And I thought, okay, he came back. If there was going to be a death, major death, it would have been him, because he's there and he just vanished. But I'm kind of glad that Tara's gone. I don't understand. Not that I didn't like the character, but I thought that her journey should have ended somewhere before Terminus, where she, Glenn saved her, he served him, she saves him, and then she dies.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about it is that, she just was on for 4 or 5 seasons. And I don't think it's that I didn't like her. I think they never really did anything, and Rosita's fallen into that gap too.
Yeah,
they're there, and they try to give Tara a couple, she was in a relation with Denise, the doctor, and then she went and she was lost Heath, good job, thanks MTV. Then she ends up at the beach resort, which you hear very little of them. How are they faring in this storm?
Can't be doing well, right?
And where do they get the popcorn bags?
Yes, where'd they
That annoyed the hell out of me.
Yeah.
But,
and I don't know about this whole kind of romantic triangle between Father Gabriel and Rosita and Eugene and the doctor. It's like, what the hell is that all about?
Well,
whatever.
Father Gabriel dies in it. Well, I'm not going to tell him anything. It. But it's good. It's going places. I think.
So, do you agree that the kind of radio transmission at the end is someone from the Commonwealth?
Like Maggie.
I thought it sounded like Maggie too. Do you think Maggie's at the Commonwealth?
I don't know.
Well, I thought it sounded like Maggie too, but everybody's pointing towards someone at the Commonwealth.
See, that was the whole thing. Apparently, Georgie, the woman with the awesome record collection, she was from the Commonwealth, or she was expounding upon the Commonwealth with that. Now, that's one thing I'm concerned about, is that if anybody's in there and likes the Walker angle of this, that's one of their things that they watch it for, the zombies, and it's understandable. However, once you go to the Commonwealth, they enter into a city, kind of a utopian Orwellian city, which has about 50,000 people.
Completely closed off.
They have a police force. They have, but it is run, and I think we mentioned this earlier on. It's very similar to George Romero's Land of the Dead, in which it's the people that are the working class are down struggling for a living, and there are rich living in the privileged.
Yep.
Are living in high buildings. So it's more of a drama about people. I'm a little behind on the comic. I haven't seen any hordes or herd attacks and things like that. So they're going to probably...
For those of you who like the horror aspect of the show, there's none of that going on.
It's going to start getting almost a sci-fi approach. Then you also have the situation, where is Rick? I don't think Rick's in the Commonwealth. There's got to be some government facility, which they've hinted at for years with the helicopters.
Yeah. And
there's something to do with that. There's been rumors going around that where Rick is at, that the character of Heath, since there's been this 8-year gap, and since the reboot of 24 didn't work, he's for hire. And there have been rumors that Heath was abducted by the same people with the helicopter, and that they are performing experiments on people. That's why there's A's and B's, and they're apparently experimenting to find a cure. And that Heath is there, and he's been kind of messed with. That's a rumor that's out there at this point. I'm hoping that Negan kills Alpha, because if they do Carol killing Alpha, it's just too predictable.
Yeah.
But I think Negan has to, and they have to keep him around for the show.
Yeah,
Can't afford to lose anybody else, and I like him as an actor, and that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
And he lives in Rhinebeck.
There you go. He's a local guy.
He's a local. We drink local, think local, and watch local.
There you go.
And eat local, whatever.
So that's our wrap up on season 9, and curious to hear your thoughts in the comments and feedback below, and what you think is going to happen in season 10. And when that comes around, we'll all be watching, and we'll see what they got cooking for us, right?
And by the way, if you have not been investing in Fear of the Walking Dead, I know it's a show that's trying to find its footing. They just released the trailer for the next season. I've been watching it. It looks incredible.
Really?
The trailer. And actually, Dwight is crossing over to the show.
Yeah.
And also in the trailer, they show Ruben Blades is back. He was Daniel. And it's a lot of zombie. They're starting to run into a lot. It looks like they're running into people out there. They're running like an Apocalypse Now, Colonel Kurtz type thing, with heads and people on stakes.
Wow.
So it looks, if you haven't watched it yet.
I haven't watched this since season 1. So
grim through it. It's not easy, but it's a nice diversion. And this year it seems to be they're finally finding their footing.
Cool.
All right.
Sounds good. All right, guys, so take care. Make sure you, let's see, for you Sea of Tranquility folks, this is on the web at www.seatranquility.org, Facebook and Twitter for Comic Book Geezers. Check us out here. Go to our Facebook page. We got lots more good stuff coming up. So thanks for watching, guys. Take care. For Dan Brown in the warehouse.
Yes, visit us at 119 Liberty Street. Open every day but Monday. That's why we're here doing this right. There's nobody here.
That's right.
It's the only time we film is Mondays. So, thank you. Hope to see you here soon.
There you go. Thanks, guys. Take care. Be good.